Hi everybody, it is the 15th of February 2021. I hope you had a really lovely Valentine's Day yesterday and a lovely weekend with your loved one, or just loving upon yourself as Valentine's Day. We should all do that. So tonight I'm your trainer, Regional Vice President Jade Brimfield, and tonight's training is named The Peaks and Valleys. And over this course of the last few weeks, I've been really engaging in a lot of books and literature, reading about self-worth and holding a vision when sometimes we allow outside circumstances to dictate our feeling state. And in kind of line with that, I've also been listening to a lot of old trainings. So tonight I'm going to go through and ask you some questions just for you to really think and self-reflect. And it's all around self-love and how we view ourselves and how that can have a detrimental or very positive effect on our business and our journey within Arbonne and other ventures that we foresee. So I'm also kind of titling this training, You Are Not Your QV. So do you love yourself unconditionally? And if not, what conditions do you put on loving yourself? Some of these conditions could be the perfect body, the perfect relationship, having a certain amount of money, being a good mom, being a good wife, maybe your education. In Arbonne, a lot of the time, the love for ourselves is tied into our achievements. So maybe when we're not achieving or being recognised, the love for ourselves and the belief in what we're doing starts to dwindle. Don't know if anyone can resonate with that. And when we start a business, our true self is excited by the possibility of abundance. But on our journey, our ego or our false self gets in the way. So why does this happen? We start to love ourselves conditionally in our business, just like the other areas in our lives. We feel great when things are going well. That is when we are selling and seeing the QV rise. So when we're checking our QV, when our QV is going up, we feel amazing, don't we? We feel excited, exhilarated, like happy, positive. But when we check our QV and it's not moving, well, we all know what that feels like. It's a little bit like getting on the scales. So if you've ever been in sort of weight management or you've been looking at trying to lose weight, we often do it in the morning. And that number generally depicts how it's going to affect our day. It either puts us in a really good mood or it affects our day and affects the way that we act within the day in a bad, negative way. Because what we're doing is we're measuring your self-worth on a number. So that's either the number on a scale or the QV on your dashboard. So what happens when we don't hit a QV goal? Maybe we don't hit that qualification, or we don't hit that promotion as and when we wanted, or we maybe lose our title, or maybe someone passes us in the business. That feeling that we feel is shame. Am I right? So shame makes us hide away. Shame is the emotion that makes us want to withdraw and hide away from everybody. If you've ever experienced shame, then you'll know that it feels like you just want to curl up and shut the world out and just ignore everybody. When we feel shame, we don't feel worthy of love. We are literally ashamed of ourselves. And when we even recognize this, we might not even recognize this, It can definitely be a subconscious thing, so we might not even be consciously like realizing that this is what we're doing, but it does show up in a lot of symptoms, and those symptoms are self-sabotage, which looks like either decreased activity within our Arbonne business and decreased personal growth. So we stop working on our business and we stop working on ourselves, or we overcompensate and push harder, forcing ourselves into more activity through self-shame. So what does self-shame look like? It's sayings like, you just don't want it enough. You need to want it more. She's doing it. Why aren't you doing it? You would never ever talk to another person like this, but this is exactly how we can and do talk to ourselves. So why do we stop doing Arbonne, or maybe start doing Arbonne even harder than what we once were when we were being successful? We tend to think the problem is Arbonne. And if you think the problem is Arbonne, why wouldn't you stop doing Arbonne, or even start doing Arbonne a little bit harder or pushing it? I believe for a lot of us that the degree of struggle with Arbonne is the degree of unprocessed emotional pain that we have in our life. So let me just summarize that. Unprocessed emotional pain is something deep down in your subconscious when you can't always just feel that moment of peace, that moment of happiness. You know, when you look around and there's everybody around you and they're just so happy and bubbly all the time. They just got their stuff together. Unprocessed emotional pain is stuff that's sort of deep down, like in the core. It may be some childhood things. It may be conditioning from our parents. It may be you were bullied at school. It may be that you just have this self-belief that you're not good enough at something. The more pain you have, the more you're going to struggle in this business. Have you ever noticed the people in Arbonne that are flying high are the ones that have always seem to be in this good feeling state? There's not a lot that really knocks them down. I just believe that that's because they've processed this emotional pain and they've come to terms with it and pushed it aside. They've dealt with it. They've reaccessed it and dealt with it. And your pain erodes your self-worth, and your self-worth basically puts a ceiling on your life. So when your self-worth is low, you have limiting beliefs on yourself and in this business. The truth is, you are not your QV. You're also not your body. You're not your relationship. You're not your mom ideal or your education. We need to stop putting conditions on ourselves and looking at our outside circumstances and choosing that that's the way we should feel. You will never feel a true feeling of sustained love from your QV. And I know a lot of us have a focus on getting to district manager, getting to area manager, getting to RVP or MVP, as it's like the be all and end all. And, you know, the truth is it does feel better for a short time when you hit that goal. It feels amazing. It feels exhilarating. You've achieved it. You're being recognized. Your name's in lights. You've got your gifts. You've got your pens. You've got your incentive meals. But the truth is, it only lasts for as long as your true sense of love for yourself does. So be aware of when you say, when I have this, then I'll be happy. If this changes, then I'll be able to. It doesn't work, and the feelings above will just keep reoccurring. So how do you actually access true self-love? This all comes from by truly connecting with yourself, your true self. So when you connect with yourself, you connect with the high vibe energy, the energy that you are, that you were born as a child. No conditions, No emotions, just pure happiness as a child. Look, if any mums are there, like there's no conditions now in our life. And, you know, born as before, but all the conditions on ourselves. So some of these ways, so what are the ways that we can connect with our true self? The first one is meditation. I think we say meditation because we think it's a way of clearing our mind and getting ourselves set up for the day, but it's a way of really going inward and figuring out your connection with yourself. You've probably heard this saying in Arbonne, your business will only grow as much as you do. Maybe it's you will only grow as much as you are willing to acknowledge your pain and release it. Another way to kind of access that is to listen to music, get yourself into a really high vibration, things that really lift you up. Fiona talks about this a lot on her morning videos. Look back at pictures, old pictures, to help release things that are maybe holding on, that you may be holding on to. For me, I took the courage to look back at my QV through the worst times of my business, both on a personal level and for things that were going on at home. A second way to really connect with your true self is to journal. Journaling is such a great way to get out of your head, out of your subconscious, things that are going on, and just see it in black and white. It just gives yourself some insight to your life. And there's nothing really that you have to think about. There's no right way to do journaling. It's just free writing. I know that Emma does this, and she just starts with a title at the top of the page saying, why am I feeling like this? Why am I feeling this way? And just allow it all to flow out. Another way is mindfulness. So getting in touch with nature, just being outdoors. Like, we don't need to be, you know, woo-woo or tree huggers, but just being in nature really, really helps you to just connect and to switch off. Or maybe just putting your phone in another room to stop the endless scrolling. When you find yourself wasting hours and hours and hours scrolling, you've just totally lost connection with yourself. Another way is through just creativity and expressing yourself. So, like, it's hard at the moment, but make a list of the things that you just love to do. What really lights you up? Maybe just like artists, I don't know, painting, colouring, drawing, singing, dancing, karaoke, whatever it is, what lights your fire, and call it your high vibe list. You know, really connect with yourself and get yourself into that state modality. So I did name this training Peaks and Valleys, but I really wanted you guys to see and feel into how many times, how often do we feel a sense of, oh, I'm struggling, I'm not feeling great, you know, when our QV isn't moving as quickly. And then that feeling when it's like flying, there's no stopping you and you're just in a great mode. And this business truly is peaks and valleys. Genuinely, that is the way that our business grows. It never ever grows in a straight line in any business, whether it's network marketing or not. So this is all really learning about how to feel good. If you feel good all the time, or as much time as possible, then your true self-love for yourself will in turn grow. And even when your QV isn't where you want it to be, it doesn't dictate how you're going to feel. That's how we need to be in this state. I'm going to just share my journey. And I said earlier that I did look back at some of the hard times in my business. And there were times on multiple occasions where I wanted to curl away, hide from the world, not as active on the WhatsApps, not being the leader that I needed to be, just feeling ashamed, and also looking at other areas of my business or other areas that I could maybe move to, other jobs that would help me create what it is that I wanted to create. So let me just share my screen. No, I don't want to print. You guys see that? Yeah. This was a section in my business, and this is me, started my business in 2016. And this is me in months 5 to 10. How many of us in that state would think, oh, wow, things aren't really going so well for you there, Jade? Is this even working? I'm still really early on in my business. And all of a sudden, the QV starts to drop and people in my business start to fall away. It didn't feel great in that moment. And I either was backing off and deciding that this wasn't working for me, or I was pushing even harder and pushing it away. But there was something in me that just kept this twinkle, that state of abundance that we spoke about at the start, that feeling of excitement. That's just a small snapshot of my business from months 5 to 13. 5 to 10, what did I say? 5 to 10. And you can see this in perspective. So actually here are months 1 to 13. If you'd looked at this graph and saw, oh, well, it does go up high and it does take a dip, but you can see the success curve is coming back, you perhaps wouldn't feel so worried, would you, in hindsight, looking at this graph? But in the moment, when you're on this slippery slope all the way down, how does that make you feel? And it's in those moments where you have to decide that this is not who you are. It's just you're part of this process, and you're in a process that will, if you believe it will, and carry on, begin to grow up, but begin to go back up. This is another section in my business. This was from months 1 to 13. No, that's not right. I've not named that properly. Sorry. I need to go back. But either which way, you can see that had a huge spike in my business. And then literally in the state of 1 month, had a massive decline. And then it continued to keep dropping and dropping the following months. Again, like, how many times did that make you feel like, not so good? Things have been so good in one moment. It may be GTC, it may be AAC, it may be that people are buying lots of things. But it's in that moment that you have to keep the faith. Here is a full snapshot of that from months 17 to 23. Oh, I've messed this up, haven't I? That was 17 to 23. But you can see in hindsight, the full journey is that it's generally been an upward curve. And even at the lowest points, it still beat the top peaks in my business over here. So you can see as it's dropping down, it's still beating those. This is a full reflection of my business in perspective and full perspective for you guys. When you have a look at this, you think, wow, like, look at your journey. It looks so, in the general sense, the general curve has been upward growth. But it's in those moments we start to change our self-worth. We raise it up. And then when we start to drop, even though that drop was never as low as my business right from day dot, it can sometimes affect us in such a negative way. That's where we need to be feeling happy regardless, and knowing that you are doing the do and you're part of the process, and that you're working with yourself constantly to just iron out those moments of pain, and to continue feeling happiness and gratitude around your journey. I know that in my business, I genuinely wouldn't have met some of the people that I've met today, and work along some of the people that I've met today, if I hadn't have stayed the course and gone through those painful moments. And people have come and gone in my business. So many people have come and gone, but it's those moments and it's those lessons, and it's even like things today when we saw on the news that may be quite new for people to have experienced. They will come time and again. But when those things happen, you've recreated those conditions where it just doesn't affect you. Like, you've learned the lessons, and it's in those down moments you've got to think, this is part of my journey, this is part of my process. And you know that you're just about to go back up the mountain into the peaks when you may feel like you're in a valley. So I hope that training helps and resonates what time are we on? Oh, it's a lot quicker than I thought. Resonates with some of you, because I know that we can feel so elated and happy and positive when we are feeling the recognition and feeling the buzz, and then we start to just judge ourselves when we're not getting as much recognition, or your name isn't up on the board, or things aren't going so well. And that isn't you. That's not anything to do with you. That's just part of your journey. And just got to keep that self-love and self-worth as high as possible. So I'm sorry, I read from a thing, but I was making notes and I didn't want to miss anything out. Has anyone got any questions or anything to say? And then if not, we can go and have a wee break. Oh, thanks, Sally. Thank you, Emma. I'm just going to stop the recording. Thanks, Ray.